Hey everybody, it's mid-November and it's getting colder and it's getting closer to Thanksgiving and ultimately Christmas and ultimately the end of the year. Thanks for coming and checking out the show. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Comedy Food Truck. Now here comes the show. Look out.
Voiceover.
You're listening to the Comedy Food Truck Podcast. We talk life, food, relationships, and have fun with all of it. And now here's your host, comedian John Hill.
What's going on, everybody? Good Lord. Happy fall and almost into winter, right? Yep. We're like 9 days out from Thanksgiving.
It's crazy.
Some of you ain't been thankful the whole year. You just... you don't even know what that is. I thought you said
the whole year.
The whole year. That too. No thanks whatsoever. You don't. It's not even in your vocabulary. So it's getting colder. It's 9 days out, right? Mm-hmm. Turkeys are scared. I don't know what's going on, right? That's funny. Anyway, sorry. Some things are funny to myself. I don't even say out loud. I just enjoy them for me. It's like a good can of cranberry. You guys do that?
There is no good can of cranberry.
I know. That was exaggeration or whatever you call it. Irony. Oh, because the cans are made out of iron. Anyway, welcome to the show, everybody. What's happening?
Wow.
We're so
Can't get my feet back on the pedals.
We're still so happy you're here, if you're still here. I think at one point we went to 2 or 3 listeners, and now we're down to 1.
Yep.
Back again. And I think they live in Cleveland.
It's not the same one.
It's not the
from
same
before.
one. Every week is like, there's got to be something redeemable in this.
Yeah.
Nope, there's not.
Pretty high turnover.
Let me see if they got any better. No. We're like a TV dinner. It just never gets better. It's always there, but it's never any good. We're the Salisbury steak of podcasts.
I was going to say that. The banquet Salisbury steak.
That's it. Salisbury. Hey, though, mashed potatoes, though, come on. That's the one thing that is actually decent in a
If they're not
TV
still
dinner.
frozen in the middle.
That has to do with if you cook them. You got to stop fanning a flame over them. Put them in the microwave, right?
It's like
Sticking them in the air fryer.
right.
Air fryer. That'd be cool. Air fryer TV dinner.
Plastics all melted.
Oh, my goodness.
It catches on
That's
fire.
hilarious. What's that flavor you put in there? Yeah, it's plastic. Anyhow, we're excited to be here. Thanks for everybody joining us. I'm going to introduce the whole team that you guys already know. But okay, everybody all together say who's first. Ready? To my left is...
Jared.
No, I meant the audience, but since there's not one, it's cool. Put in the chat or put in the
Very
feeds.
self-serving.
Put in the feeds as the... Wow. There goes another one. There goes turkey dinner again. But that wasn't even a turkey. That was some... Is that a rooster? That's a rooster, right?
Yeah.
Man, the jig is up, rooster. You better get on over here.
Touch your toes.
Oh, man, that's funny. Anyway, cock-a-doodle don't. But Jared's here. Thank you. How you doing, Jared?
I'm doing all right, man.
I feel like the longer we've got on, the more wires and inputs and different
we
stuff.
have so much garbage laying across this table right now.
I love the fact that there's like a laptop in front of everybody now. And
Right. Well,
we look like we're like doing a sportscast or
Scott's
something,
asleep.
but it's like no, it's a bunch of worthless content.
Scott's just scanning through the swimsuit edition for Sports Illustrated.
I'm looking behind him. We just start some crafts here or something in a little bit. What are you making, Scott?
I know you got a lot going on over there, brother. But anyways, I want to say still, Jared's here. How you doing, Jared?
Good.
Did you already do that?
I did.
Did I do that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Then we
I'm
will
good.
move on.
Still good.
To our man in the sky. He always feels like he's in some Hubble space bubble or something somewhere. What's up, Scott? How are you doing, Scott?
Good.
It's been a while since I called you Gator. Now that you got married, it kind of toned it down a little bit.
I know.
Went from Gator to Gecko.
Speaking of being married,
There she goes.
wow.
If you're on YouTube, you just saw Scott's wife walking his walker across the house. Just for the YouTube people. Just either that or it's your TV tray. I don't know which one
I
it
ain't
was.
gonna have my walker.
Yeah. Hey, please, could you refresh the tennis ball? It's a little off. It's a little awkward.
Take the tennis balls off.
One of them's worn down. We need to go get a Spalding next time. It's good to see you, Scott. How are things
Nice to be seen.
How are things in the OC?
Wonderful.
Well, for everybody else in the rest of the world, because we always localize so badly. But that's the Orange County.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
kind
The
of
West Coast, Orange County.
Yeah, it's kind of the beach.
Yeah.
Closer to the
If
coast.
you want to know where it goes, go west and south until people's noses are in the air. And then you're there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kidding. When they start smiling again, you see them. That's San Diego. You went too far south.
Where everybody rides e-bikes. Kids nowadays over
Really?
here just ride e-bike. Oh yeah,
That's
Like,
smoking
I'm not
on
gonna
their-
bother
Don't even
with
pedal.
pedaling, man.
They're not even. They're vaping, like on the e-bike vaping.
Yeah, on their phone.
Right.
Yeah, they're just like I'm
Wow.
not pedaling.
Right.
That's like work.
They got too much to do.
You got a job? Yeah, I got a regular bike.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's funny. Cool. Well, it's great to have Scott. As always, we're so glad you made it. You make such an effort because I know you have a hard job. So glad you're here, man. And then what? What do we say? The fourth leg of our comedy coffee table
Coffee table.
Yeah.
is our man Ray. What's happening, Ray?
Hi, John.
With your Jeep hat.
Yep, the Jeep hat.
That's what you wear mostly is Jeep product type stuff, right?
Yeah, pretty much. No, not really. Just my hats.
Weird if you owned a Jeep.
Just my hats. Yeah. Just for the record, that is the AMC Jeep logo on there. That's not the Chrysler or Mopar.
Did it used to be? Was AMC a car maker at some point? I didn't even know that.
American Motor Company.
That's right, because
They made the Eagle Talon.
So did they
was
make,
something
did they
else
make the
they made.
Gremlin, or was that?
Yeah, it
They
was
did
one of
make
those
the
something
Gremlin.
like that.
Yeah,
right?
they're
There
known
was-
for the Gremlin, and they made that 4-wheel drive car that was like the Eagle or something like that.
Okay.
Guys build them. They're kind of funny.
That's cool.
Speaking of cars, and speaking of Scott's
Then they
Walker,
went into movies. AMC. Sorry.
real quick story. We were driving around one time when there was a car, and it had like 2 walkers and a wheelchair and a thing of crutches sticking out of the trunk. No joke. And four
They didn't
people-
have a rack. It was like the
that's
trunk was
the
just
trunk
tied down.
right?
Yeah,
and then
that's
there was
funny.
like 4 people in the car. So I was
Wait.
driving with my buddy, and we're
Run
like,
the numbers again.
yeah, we're like, so when they get to where they're going, who gets out and gets
Gets
the
all the
stuff?
stuff. Yeah, that's funny.
like rock paper scissors. Somebody crawls out and drags themselves by their hands, or all right, it's my turn. I'll go get your wheelchair and your walkers and the crutches.
That's hilarious.
Just kind of rolls out of the car and
Slithers on the ground.
right. I was like,
I don't know if
who
you.
draws the short straw?
I don't know if you know this, but Ray's a spokesperson for the National Group of People with Disabilities, and he does commercials all the time for them.
That's me. They're 2 minutes long, and you're just waiting for your show to come
The
back.
ADA.
Yeah.
ADA loves Ray. Cool. Well, today's show, we have one of those rarities that we always promised we would have more often, but now we don't, is a guest.
Yeah.
And like an interview and like an actual person who's here with us, right?
Someone that wanted to come on.
Someone who's
Sort of.
someone who's
I kind of made him.
yeah, he was coming for another reason. And we just like, hey, why don't you do a show?
He comes in, there's a microphone and headphones. Have a seat.
Right.
What?
Yeah. Sit down. So I'm going to let Jared, those of you in the YouTube feeds or whatever can see him already, but I'm going to let Jared tell us about your guest.
Yeah.
Yeah, our guest.
Guys, this is Pat Jalbuena. Pat and I met probably, maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah, just
So,
about. Yeah,
yeah.
a year and a half now.
How did you guys meet?
So at the time, I was working part-time as the tech director at our church, and he filled out an interest slip to run sound. So
cool.
we got connected that way. Just got into conversation right away, and I think we just kind of became fast friends and getting to know a lot about each other and our past and stuff. So, but Pat's got a really interesting story. I kind of wanted him just to share it on our show.
Yeah.
Like in terms of just where you came from, because you're not from America. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So just kind of start there.
First
and
time
talk about-
voter.
First
Right
time
here.
voter. Yeah.
This year
Nice.
is your first time voting?
Yeah.
That's cool. There's people who lived here their
that
whole
was
lives and haven't voted yet.
Right.
That was interesting. I got guilted by the obligation, I guess. All this privilege being American now, I figured
Yeah.
might as well.
Might as well participate.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, my name's Pat, as you already know. I met Jared through church, and so part of my story is I'm originally from the Philippines, born and raised there. I'm older than I look, so I was out there for about 30 years before I came over in 2011.
Okay.
So good.
So how old were you when you
good
got here? Were
11
you
years.
30 or were you like 52 and you were there for 30 years and then came over?
I was 30.
Okay, cool.
That's right.
Yeah.
The past 10 years, though, has been quite interesting for me. My journey was really such that I kind of left all my family back home, moved over on my own, did get married a few years later, and then my wife came over from the Philippines, so she's here with me now.
Nice.
In terms of family, though, everyone's at home, so it quickly became me and her against the world kind of scenario. And growing up in the Philippines, it's a very familial sort of atmosphere, environment. A lot of people live with their parents and grandparents kind of in a larger household. And so being here was very different for us, but it's definitely something we wanted to do and kind of just get out of the mess that was over there. And so, we got the chance to do that, and discovered what it's like to kind of be independent. And, I must say that was, quite difficult coming from that background. And so what happened to me was I describe my journey as one where I took a very long detour through the dark woods. And really what that means is I went deep into a kind of addiction, mainly alcoholism, and up to the point where I really felt that it was hopeless. Nothing that I did got me out of that spot as much as I tried.
Was there any trace of that before you came, like back in the Philippines?
Absolutely. The Philippines is safe to say, I grew up around like a group of party people.
Yeah.
It's normal.
Yep.
There's really no legal age limit for drinking. And so very early on, it's just part of everything.
Yeah.
And so what was normal to me, I guess, just carried over, and I took that into my everyday life.
Yeah.
And to the point that it was like every single hour kind of thing, I needed a fix. And I was high functioning, so that kind of covered over a lot of the cracks in that I held a job. I never but still doing things just under like a disguise, or like what I felt like I was doing the best was really just the best in that circumstance, and not the best in the bigger picture. And I didn't see a lot of the things that I was actually doing to hurt the people around me, my wife in particular, and myself in the end, Yeah. And so part of my story is I feel like I was redeemed by a power that was outside of myself, in such that I was led to a place by hook or by crook, and I was met there by God. In my case, Jesus Christ. I grew up a Catholic in the Philippines. 90% of the Philippines is Catholic. And so I always had a foundation, but never a personal relationship. And when he met me out in the beach, Newport Beach, I took myself into a little rehab place, which turned out to be a fantastic decision. But again, almost like it wasn't my decision to be there. Things just lined up so that I wound up there. Wow. And a lot of left turns, kind of like, okay, and there I was all of a sudden. And that became my life-changing experience, being prayed over by someone else that was in there for treatment as well, and kind of feeling like the Spirit come over me.
So just so I can recap, so you're in the Philippines, you come out here, you're already sort of into the scene. Alcohol starts to obviously take control. You think you're covering things and kind of doing all right, but you, through a series of incidents or even circumstances, you end up in a rehab, and it's another patient, if you will, that is who leads you to Christ. Yeah, another patient. I mean, rehabs aren't really, I mean, I know there are special ones out there that might be like Christian rehabs or, but in general, they shy away from, even the mention of such a name like Jesus kind of scares people. And it was another person in treatment. And I did meet a couple of counselors as well that had the same background, that we would talk on the side about that being a part of my recovery. And so I was there for about a month. I did my time. It was about a month. This is really what they recommended. And I said, well, keep me here for the full amount of time. And developed a program to sort of, how do I continue this in the outside world? You're living in a bubble in there. Everything's safe. Sure. And
coming out of that was really pretty scary. But I mean, I knew I had something that other people might not have found there, and that is a chance to reestablish a relationship with my Creator, and just have my eyes fixed on that. So instead of just running away from my addiction, which is in every corner, really, alcoholism is normalized in society, and I knew I couldn't just spend my time running. So instead of running away, it was more of like, I'm running towards something now, and I'm going to pursue this relationship with God. And wound up at the flip side a couple of weeks later, because I searched out local recovery meetings. One of them happened to be a Celebrate Recovery meeting, which is pretty much like an AA 12 steps, except not just focused on substance abuse. Right. They kind of expand it so you can go there for anger issues and just other things you're dealing with that you'd like to surrender. Yeah. And I wound up there. Very next day, went to the flip side on a Sunday, and it was the first time going to a Christian service for my wife and myself. And we didn't know what to expect. We were greeted with open arms, and it was kind of post-pandemic-ish. Things were starting to open up, but not fully. So the church was still doing services outside, and they had this little tent, and a rock band was playing. And I just looked at my wife. I think this is our place. And, people are pretty casual, and it was just, that was it. And safe to say, I didn't look back. And then I met Jared over here, maybe about a week or two later. And he really took me under his wing in terms of training me, and okay, I used to be a sound engineer back in the Philippines. That was part of my background there too. In America, retail worker pretty much was what it is. The first job I took, just ran with that. And so it gave me the chance to rediscover something that I used to do as well. And that played a big part in my life back then, because I was doing something that I really loved doing, which was kind of producing music and bands out there. So the church gave me that venue. Jared took me under his wing and kind of trained me for a couple of months. And then now I volunteer there as much as I can. And am starting to slowly expand on that. But it's been an amazing 21 months now. Really quick, huh? Yeah, really quick. It's like the shortest, but longest in that so much has happened, It's so different. The things around me and just the things that I've been able to experience and the people I've been able to meet over the past couple of years. Really, all I have to do is kind of sit back and just think about that for a second, and I'm reminded of all the blessings that have come almost instantly. Wow. And so I just spend my time just moving forward and keeping myself busy. So I was invited over to actually check out the setup and hopefully give some of my time to helping you guys out with your podcast as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. So we'll kick it to the audience for question. No, we don't have an audience.
Scott?
No, I think it's awesome when you talk about that you were a sound engineer, did some of that work in the Philippines, and then you come over here. And obviously, I had a friend for a while at a church I went to who was a doctor in the Philippines. And then over here, they actually ended up opening up care homes. So they were doing that. But she was kind of functioning more in a business role, along with maybe a little bit of nursing, but wasn't able to practice medicine because of the weird rules and regulations here as far as, immigrants. I mean, it's a tough life to begin with, to be an immigrant and to come over. I don't think a lot of us who were born and raised here or maybe had generations of family here quite understand that, completely. And so really incredible, the stress and all the other stuff that you're talking about, which obviously when we deal with addictions and things, sometimes it is some of that may drive us to it. It could be other triggers, but I think it's fantastic that you were able to find Christ. I mean, there's certainly some practical things I'm sure a recovery program can help with and all of that. You need that. But just to understand that the real freedom is coming through, like as you mentioned, just being connected to your creator. I mean, I think that's fantastic. Yeah. Scott, always talks about, I mean, he wasn't a sound engineer. He says he's a love engineer, but yeah, you got just a locomotive of compassion just coming around, spreading love to everybody around.
Hear that train coming.
You know what's great about Pat's story is the fact that he moved here from the Philippines by himself.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine doing something like that? I can't. I mean, to go to a different country, and so that really takes a lot to be able to.
You're right.
Well, it kind of threw me off when you said I got married and then my wife came over, and I was like, well, that's going to be awkward.
Yeah. Two different women.
Right. So I was like, okay, wait, I got it
Then
now.
my wife came over and I realized I've already been married. That's hilarious. Yeah, no, it's true. I don't even go to Orange County alone. I wouldn't, let alone come all the way to America, from anywhere really, by yourself. But so many people do that. I mean, my great-grandfather immigrated from the Middle East up through Mexico and into Arizona area. And I think it was just him and his wife, I want to say. But they just, it's a...
And then they bring the family
arduous.
later sometimes.
Sometimes if they have family behind, or they're sending money back, part of the reason they come is to help support. And it does depend on the environment you're in. It's very many times impoverished, or they're being persecuted for some reason, or some other, war torn, whatever. And so it drives people to try to find a better life. Yeah.
So I'm curious though, for you, A, what made you to make that decision to come here, and then B, what was that process like for you? Aside from the addiction part of it, I mean, just in general, like getting acclimated, learning kind of the American way and that stuff. You talk about voting for the first time now, but what's that journey been like for you?
That's a good question, because I think the Philippines is poised a bit differently. Okay. American culture is very much a part of everything from education to pop culture, and the Philippines loves America. I mean, tracing back history a little bit, America did free us from Japanese occupation in the World War. Right. And from then, we've had a very good relationship with the Americans in having like naval bases and things like that just around the country. In school, English is taught as a language, not just in private schools, but in public schools as well. And so we're really a good country to go to visit, really. If I hear a lot of people say like, well, let's go to Thailand, let's go to all these other, good luck, getting around. You can literally go anywhere in the Philippines, and we're a country of over 100 dialects because we have 7,000 islands. So even in the Philippines, if you're, let's say, from the north and you went to the central area, the common language would be English and not Filipino.
I see. And is it okay? You said dialects, because I know I have several Filipino friends. Is it Tagalog or Tagala?
Tagalog is Tagalog. What's known as Filipino now, originally known as Tagalog. That is the dialect of the metro,
sort of the national,
the national capital region.
Okay.
But even a couple of hours drive, they're speaking a different language away from there.
So a complete different language, not necessarily just that it's like you said, because even here in America, you can be in California and you can hear a certain way. You go down south, or you go, Midwest, whatever. You see some.
Sure.
It's not so bad that you can't understand, but yeah. But I mean, go over to England. This is a little harsher difference, and then Scotland, nobody knows what they're saying. So you go to different places for English, and there could be. But it's still English. But you're saying that there actually might be different language, like not
correct,
just...
Correct. Different language influences, be it more Chinese, be it more Spanish. A couple of word flips where the word means the complete opposite thing.
Oh, wow.
You got to be careful with that one always.
Yeah.
But very different. Very different.
That's great. No, I mean, it's great, but it provides a richness of culture. But obviously, too, it's... it's just it's a different way to obviously grow up. Then we're so, I don't know what the right word is, but it's not a positive word. Arrogant, I don't know. that most Americans, they only learn English. I mean, and they don't even speak that well, but they don't speak that very good either, you know. What I mean is, like, we don't take the time.
Talk good.
Yeah, we don't take the time to try to appreciate, you know, even though, for instance, a language like Spanish, at least on the West, is right here in our area. If you go up northern, like Canadian border, you got French, you know, some of that. They don't even take the time to try to learn those things, even just to be somewhat sensitive to other cultures and people groups and whatever else.
Right.
So it's interesting when I always am impressed with immigrants who can come over and again, sometimes they already come over learning multiple languages already, but then obviously either pick up English or, like in your case, maybe it was already something they knew. But I think it's pretty powerful. It's kind of cool.
And English is dumb. It is a really dumb language. It is so It is so difficult. It is so.
It's actually not the most difficult language, though. It is. It's up there, but it's not the most difficult.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's obviously roots are not in America, you know, clearly.
Yeah.
But
Greek and Latin, and
it's mostly Latin.
there's
Yeah,
French
it's Latin
words, and
based.
then there's Spanish words, and
yeah. That's funny. Yeah, they call them the Romance languages, but there's nothing romantic about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
You were asking. I thought there was another question he asked you.
Right. So I guess just to continue on that path, like how difficult the move was. I mean, so being an English speaker, it was fairly easy in that sense alone, and being kind of more, you know, adept to the culture. Like I listened to punk rock bands in the Philippines that, you know, might not even have been so popular to the mainstream in the United States. So, you know, we were privy to, like, you know, even the subcultures of different things that were out here. So all of that was familiar. I think the most difficult part was kind of really just abandoning what I had built there, number one. Sure. In a recording studio / production company that were doing, you know, groundbreaking sounds like a big word, like we were doing something, you know, revolutionary that people didn't think about, but really it was just like we were one of the first to kind of like create a scene for like more local independent rock musicians and artists out there. And kind of these artists that I used to like set up shows for in like these tiny little gigs in the metro are now like touring America. So stuff like that is pretty cool. So leaving all of that was the hardest part, and obviously the family being all over there. My mom, who petitioned for me to become American, was here when I got here, but once that was done, like you're here, she went back home. Right, and so kind of left me. I had a couple of family friends, I mean people that I had known from childbirth that were close by, so like one in Palm Springs, one in San Diego kind of thing. So I started out in the desert, working in Cabazon because that was close by, and then
There's a lot of retail in Cabazon.
Exactly, and that's where I lived for 8 years, pretty much. But I did have a girlfriend at that time in the Philippines, and so after a couple of years, she would visit over. She had a visa for traveling. Nice. And I proposed to her.
Two wives and a girlfriend. That's
wow. That's three now. Doing the math over here, it's kind of adding up.
Yeah, so I mean, on one of the trips here, I proposed to her, and then she still had to go back home at that point, and I followed. We got married out there, and then kind of came back here, not as a couple, kind of she as a tourist.
I gotcha.
And me as a green card holder. And while we were here, they literally changed the law. So God's hand was in my life before I even acknowledged it. She was here legally as a tourist, and they changed the law so that green card holders could now petition their wives. Prior to this, it was you had to be a citizen, so that would have taken 3-4 more years in my case. And so everything fast forwarded. She got her interview in a couple of months because she was here already. Whereas if she was home, that would have taken a couple of years, even if they had changed the law. And got her in, got the interview, and never went back. And
awesome.
so all of a sudden we're here and we're like, okay, now you're here. Let's. And we moved over to this area because she kind of started working in Pasadena.
Okay.
She had cousins. Has cousins here, but have never been to the Philippines. They were born and raised here.
Okay. Yep.
So she was not very close with them. I mean, close enough. Like they gave her a side job kind of thing, and so she was working out there. I was working in Cabazon. We're like,
Wow.
Rancho is the middle.
It's kind of in the middle.
Wow.
And it has a really funny name.
Yes,
so
it
we were
does.
like, let's do it. And so that's what brought us to the Inland Empire.
Wow. You how long did it take you to figure out there's no empire out here?
Right? Even the name is like, what is this?
Yeah.
Inland Empire's name.
Yeah.
And you
some-
gotta look at it and go, really?
Yeah. Somebody somewhere was like, "Oh, we'll compete with LA and Orange County. We'll be the Inland Empire." Okay. It's like an empire nobody else wants.
For reference, all of you out-of-state listeners and people who have no idea about California, it's basically 40 miles inland from LA, and it's nothing like LA.
Yeah.
Nothing like LA.
Yeah.
Well, it's just because it's more inland. I mean, obviously, it grew because there was cheaper housing and people. It's a commuter. Like
It's a
people would drive
commuter.
back into LA and whatever to work.
Yep.
But it's just urban sprawl, right? Everything just keeps getting further and connecting. But yeah, it's a different culture. It's different weather. It's different everything. So, but it's cool. Still SoCal.
Yeah.
I don't care. It ain't Stockton. You know. But we trying.
Wow.
Hey.
Nothing like that old Central California.
Downtown Stockton.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's a port town.
That's where they build character.
Is that what that smell is?
Yeah, right. So if
Smells
I
like character.
if I picked up a little bit on what you're saying, like currently, are you moving back toward, I guess, kind of the recording and sort of sound and producing kind of side of things?
I would definitely like to.
Yeah.
If God willing, if He has that in His plan for me, that would be amazing. Yeah. So even starting small, like I've been recording a side project with someone from church.
Yeah,
Just acoustic guitar and
great.
and that's been fun, and it's been an opportunity to relearn my craft as well, but
Yeah.
this time with like clearer eyes and
Oh,
the
nice.
clearer mind too. And so
that's good.
So yeah, so
And does that-
slowly.
well, I mean, obviously, if you're working on church projects, hopefully not, but I guess in terms of that vibe or that world, if you were to get back in, and I don't know if there would be secular artists involved or non-church artists, that kind of thing, if that would be something that you're sort of aware of, so you don't get drawn back into a particular scene, because I know with addictions, they don't stop.
For sure.
You get control of them, you manage them, but they don't necessarily go away. Yeah. So I mean, it's I think it'd be interesting to sort of see where God, like you said, wants to take you based on that, because of how He wants to use you now, to flip that script and say, okay, now I want to maybe use you for my glory instead of
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I would definitely like consider that as the top priority. Like, how can you use this talent you've given me, for your greater glory?
That's
and
awesome.
so, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be worship music. It could be like a band like Thrice that are, out there, but with very heavy Christian undertones without having to declare it.
Sure.
I think that's actually a cool space to operate in, where you're almost like working like the silent assassins out in the world. Kind of like
Yeah. Sometimes I know some of those groups can take advantage of things like during, say, a live concert or something like that. Like you said, there's undertones in the music, and maybe not, but whatever. There are people who are Christian artists, and then there are people who are artists who happen to be Christian, and there's a difference. So my thought is always, as long as you're not doing anything if you're an artist who's a Christian, then as long as you're not doing something that would
compromise your witness.
Be grossly opposed to what you claiming is who you are as a person. And that's just an integrity thing that would probably be true of any artist. But I'm just saying, you don't want to sell out and be commercial just to make some money. I don't think every artist who is a Christian has to write Christian lyrics per se. I just would like them not to write Christ dishonoring sort of lyrics and activities and things like that. Yeah. That's cool, man. Great. Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Okay, I have a question just to sort of start to wrap this up a little bit. after being through everything you've been through, and especially with the addiction and even just coming over and all that, what would you say to someone who's listening who is either battling an addiction or is, even been struggling with something that they're ready to maybe think about giving up? I'm not saying super heavy give up. I'm just saying quit on a marriage or quit on a job or whatever else. Or again, maybe they're battling an addiction that they, kind of know, but they haven't admitted to, whatever. What's some advice you would give to them after having been through what you've been through?
Okay, hard to say with job or marriage, right? Because there would be qualifying questions there, whether that would be good for them or not. But if it's to give up something that is, obviously not good for the person, I mean, detrimental to your health and your very being, I think getting to the point of surrender is very important, because it taught me a couple of things. It taught me that I can't do it on my own, number one. And almost like I'm such a stubborn person that I had to be torn down and kind of broken down to nothing before I could actually be rebuilt in, what I would like to think is like the closer to the image and likeness that was intended for me in the first place, and kind of just that only could have happened by removing myself from myself, if that makes any sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Getting yourself out of the way.
Yeah,
but I like what you say.
Say.
We don't do it ourselves. Like you said, you got broke down. We get broke in is sometimes what people talk about. So I think that's a powerful piece, the surrender piece, and just
stop fighting, I guess, and give it up, and see where that takes you. But keep your eyes focused on your higher power, and not on the world.
Right,
the world will take you down.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I like to ask people sometimes, how's it going for you so far, right? So is it worth trying something different? So it's good, man. I appreciate your story, brother. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me sucker you into talking.
My pleasure.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. Yeah. Well, Jared, thanks, man. Thanks for bringing Pat and just kind of blowing our minds. I just wanted to end the show with the reason we brought Pat and kind of asked him to is, Scott, this is an intervention. We want to talk to you about some addictions that we...
Those chips you were eating earlier, man.
Those bacon chips or whatever you were doing.
Bacon
Right.
chips.
Yeah, we need to have a conversation about this. So I don't know if you get that walker and hop on over, but we're gonna talk and we're gonna see if we can. Oh man, that's funny. Okay, well anyway, listen, we appreciate everybody listening, and thanks for Pat telling us his story. If you've got comments, questions, throw them in the feeds, and then man, if you get a chance, share us with somebody. Let somebody know about us. And it's not always fun and games, and it's not always not fun and games just because we're not funny. It's because sometimes we can slow down and take something serious. And in this season of gratitude and thankfulness, this is a great story to be able to have, because of our thankfulness to God for how He transforms lives, but also just to hear you, Pat, talk about what He's done for you, and even when you didn't see it, that you would after the fact see where He was. Is really kind of cool. So anyhow, come back next week. We'll have another episode, and the week after that, and the week after that.
Yep.
I just had an episode. I'm sorry. What were we talking about?
Right, exactly. So anyhow, we'll see you guys all next week. So everybody say goodbye.
Later, dudes.
Later.
See ya.
Thank you.